All right, let's dive into Midnight Madness, and the movie that I think we've all seen by now, except for Jeff, is Pearl, the latest from Ty West, approved by Martin Scorsese, and the continuation of X, or prequel to X. Art and I talked about it a little bit on our last stream. So, Carson, let me start with you. What was your reaction to Pearl?
I didn't really vibe with this movie. I think it aesthetically very cool. Like, I like the vibe it's going for with like this what is it, like 50s kind of old school look.
1918.
Oh,
yeah, like old Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was like it just didn't really do what I wanted. Like, as a horror film, I wanted it to be a little bit scarier. I wanted the kills to be more interesting. I don't think Pearl is that interesting of a character, is I think the core of this issue. Because, like,
I agree.
People are comparing this to a lot of like John Waters movies of like the whole like, I want to be a star one day, right. And then it goes about it in the most vulgar way possible. And like, I just think Pearl is like so uninteresting compared to like a John Waters character, or like most versions of this character in horror movies. And like X was just so much more interesting because it was like all these like porn stars, and it was like kind of characters that you don't see that often in horror movies. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I still didn't love X, but it at least felt like it had this unique thing going for it that, I don't know, Pearl just didn't really introduce anything that I haven't already seen before. I thought the kills were kind of unsatisfying, and I was just bored, honestly. I was just kind of bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amanda,
that's pretty much
exactly,
that's pretty much exactly how I feel. Like, I just don't find Pearl that interesting of a character. It did hit moments of like such extreme secondhand cringe.
Yeah.
Like before a couple things where you're just kind of like, I'm sorry, baby doll, not everyone's a star. But yeah, it, like I said, I think this probably would have been really good if this had been like a little thing that got added to like a Blu-ray version of X, or some kind of like live stream edition, that it was like a little prequel that went on before that. Like, if you would just really cut it down and condensed it, because like Pearl's not that interesting a character, and turns out, you know, her history wasn't that interesting either. But
no.
Super. I saw it at the midnight premiere, thankfully, because, well, not thankfully, but Karsten decided he didn't want to see it at midnight, so I usurped his ticket. Thank you very much. So like the vibes of the audience there was great. You know, we got the clapping to the Bulgari ad, which eventually spread outside Midnight Madness, which was nice. Then you got the big reveal for Maxine at the end, which was exclusive to TIFF, right? Because like that had already played other places, but no one else got it. So that was really cool, and I'm excited for that because I like Mia Goth's character in X. So that's exciting. But yeah, I would follow pretty much where Karsten does, where I just kind of like find this movie in general like too long for what it is and just a little underwhelming. So
yeah,
kind
comedy. Yeah.
That's funny either. I love the credits. I love her monologue.
The credits were great.
Yeah, the credits were great.
And that's the thing about it.
In the movie.
That's the thing about it. It has those moments. She has that monologue, which is awesome. Maybe not quite on the level of Rebecca Hall in Resurrection, but still like a pretty awesome monologue. But it is sort of like a movie that it has its moments, but then has these long stretches where it's sort of just hanging out with an insufferable character, and she's going to yell a lot. And I don't know. I did appreciate how much of the movie happened in broad daylight, which, you know, brings me back to like Midsommar and stuff like that. I think there are a lot of movies that can still be horrific, can still be scary, but don't have to obfuscate everything in like darkness. So I liked that about it, but it was also ultimately like, for a Midnight Madness movie, for a slasher origin story, a little bit light on the blood and gore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with everybody in like Mia Goth was amazing. Even that monologue, I mean, she's great in the monologue, but I'm like, what is actually being accomplished in this like 8 minutes of like
just my husband.
I'm like, she is like, props to her, because she like does so much with like nothing, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know.
She also wrote the script, which I found really surprising. I know that this was, you know, it's got the
Really?
pandemic,
with Thai.
accents to it.
I
Obviously,
mean,
because
if you
it's comparing to the 1900s.
If you look at it as sort of what they originally intended it for, as like an exercise for her to know more about the character so it informs her performance in X, like it's cool that it does give you that background, but compared to X, which is about a time and about a place and about a style of film, it just, there's a lot less meat on the bone in Pearl. So I had a fun time with it, but it's definitely a lot more disposable, I think, than X was. And yeah, I think like Amanda, I'm also really looking forward to Maxine. It takes place in a world maybe I know a little bit better, or at least have more interest in seeing.
It's gonna be my favorite of the three, I think. So, you know, yeah.
We'll see.